Tiger Rag Audibles podcast. Jeff Palermo, News and Sports Director of Louisiana Radio Network, along with the Executive Editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Todd Horne, and the Editor, Glenn Guilbeau. LSU, Alabama. The rivalry resumes Saturday night inside Tiger Stadium for a 6:30 kickoff. And I don't know about you guys, but it just feels like the vibe for this game is a little bit different. It seemed like there was so much, even going back to earlier this season when LSU faced Ole Miss on October 12th. The hype, the excitement level around town, you can feel it. I don't want to say that this feels like just another game, because it's not, because it's Alabama, but it just doesn't feel like, or you don't feel the excitement level for this game as you do for previous LSU Alabama games. I don't know if it's because Nick Saban's no longer there or LSU's coming off a loss. Usually LSU's going into this game with some momentum, with a bit of a win streak. I don't know if it's because there's no longer an SEC West title on the line, or both teams have 2 losses, or that it's 85 degrees out instead of 75 degrees out. I don't know what it is.
Well, it's a massive game. It's massive.
I know.
But
does it feel massive to you? Do you sense the massiveness?
It did. I sensed the massiveness. I felt.
Is that a word?
I felt the massiveness in my heart. But I think what's going on right now, in all honesty, is that you've got LSU fans who are actually a little scared because there's going to be a live Tiger in the stadium for the first time.
And they're not used to him because he's from the transfer portal.
Yeah. Omar Bradley, too. I mean, no.
Hi, I'm Mike Munderland, and we're here to smash the capital city's trash.
Smash My Trash is a revolutionary compactor for large dumpsters, sometimes reducing the volume of waste by up to 70%. This means fewer hauls per month and big savings for your business. Fewer hauls and compacted waste will also result in a positive impact on our community and our environment by taking up less space in our local landfill sites. Schedule your company's free demo today. Call 225-497-0101.
I think there's so much activity going on around this game, and it's a completely new environment. You know, you mentioned the SEC West is no longer. You know, for years, this was to determine the SEC championship participant from the SEC
for sure.
West.
Yeah.
And now the stakes are different. They're higher, but they're different. And this is an extremely important game for both coaches, especially.
It's an off-Broadway game. It's 2 teams that aren't really at the top of the league anymore. I think that's what you're feeling, Jeff. Because, you know, this has had game of the centuries. This was the game to decide the SEC, and these 2 teams are second division in the SEC right now, really, behind Georgia and Texas and supposedly Tennessee, though I don't believe that. And I think that's part of it. And, you know, Alabama's already lost 2 SEC games. LSU has lost 2 games. You know, neither team is as great. This is the first time neither team is having a great season. They're both kind of a little average going in. I think that's part of it. And I was also talking to Jim Nagy with the Senior Bowl this week, and he was saying how this game is usually full of first-round draft choices, and it's not. You know, and we talked earlier this week on the Tiger Rag Radio with Chase Goodbread, and he was saying that, you know, the talent at Alabama has dropped, and, you know, LSU doesn't, you know, other than Garrett Nussmeier and Harold Perkins, who's not playing, you know, there might not be a first-round draft choice right now, you know, and that's different than it was even, you know, just 5 years ago in 2019. So I think that's what it is. But nevertheless, it is a huge game because it is a playoff elimination game. The winner has a great chance to make the 12-team playoff, and the loser eliminated.
Yeah, and I think the premier game in the conference and actually the country is taking place at 2:30 in the afternoon.
That's a good
in
point,
Oxford.
too. Yeah.
You know, Georgia and Ole Miss, I think, are the 2 best teams in the conference, most talent-wise, as far as NFL draft picks go. And I think, I think it's probably the most important game.
It is funny, though, that the 2 teams here in Baton Rouge each beat those 2 teams. Alabama beat Georgia, LSU beat Ole Miss. So it's pretty close, but I see what you're saying. But I think this game got selected because of the mystique of LSU that still survives, and it's a night game. And look at all the stuff going on. I mean, you got the Paul Skeens, Libby Dunn, game day, the Tiger, Nick's coming back to LSU. It's going to be a pretty cool game.
It certainly will.
Trains are everywhere. You should always expect one, even on private property. Only cross tracks at designated crossings that fit your equipment. If you don't fit, don't commit. Look, listen, live.
Is it as easy when you break down this game, guys? Is the simplest way to break it down and trying to figure out a winner by saying whichever quarterback performs best wins? And I understand that's pretty obvious in football all the time. But to me, if Milroe goes out there and rushes for 75-plus yards and throws for 250-plus, LSU's in trouble. If Nussmeier goes out there and throws for 350 yards or 300 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns, Alabama's in trouble. When I look at all the different matchups, that is the matchup that I just keep coming back to.
I think the biggest key to this whole game is Garrett Nussmeier does not turn the ball over. I think that's the biggest key. I think the second biggest key is LSU has to have balance in a running game. But if they don't have balance in a running game and Garrett Nussmeier does not turn the ball over, I think LSU's still in good shape.
Great point. I think LSU is going to win because Garrett Nussmeier is better than Jalen Milroe, and Garrett's going to play better this week, and I think he will cut down on the interceptions. And the other thing is Alabama is 65th in the nation and 14th in the SEC against the run with 144 yards allowed a game. So I think LSU running game, which was good at Arkansas, has been bad at Ole Miss. It was bad against A&M. I think they're going to be able to run the ball against Alabama. Alabama's defense is average. They're also 44th in the nation and 11th in the SEC in total defense. LSU's better against the run than Alabama is. They're not as good in total defense as Alabama is. I mean, it's just two average defenses, but I think LSU is a shade better than Alabama on defense, and they have the better quarterback. They're going to be at home. I think LSU wins this game. And it's an amazing stat came out last night at the Brian Kelly press conference. No LSU – Brian Kelly, if he wins Saturday, he will be the first LSU football coach in history to beat Alabama back-to-back in Tiger Stadium. No other coach has done it. Bernie Moore didn't do it. Nick Saban didn't do it when he was the LSU coach.
Charlie McClendon certainly didn't.
Well, yeah, he lost a lot at home. But it is kind of an amazing stat, and Kelly could do that because he won his first game against Alabama back in 22 in that overtime game.
You rattled off all those stats, Glenn, about Alabama's average defense, but here's where they're not average. They force turnovers. They have forced 18 of them this season. That's tied for first in the Southeastern Conference with South Carolina. Their turnover margin is +7. That is a little scary if Nussmeier is not careful with the football.
So,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
And Alabama is also pretty good, 6th in the SEC, 18th nationally, and fewest points allowed. They've only allowed 18.6. But they have been some ball hawks. So again, as we said, this is a critical game for Nussmeier. He's got 5 interceptions in his 2 biggest games this year, Ole Miss and A&M.
Well, and he's got 7 over the last 4, and Arkansas dropped 3.
Right.
So I think, Jeff, if you've got those stats in front of you, and I don't know how quickly you can find this, but I think the one big deficiency in that turnover defense that Alabama has is they don't pressure the quarterback.
Well, 18 sacks on the season.
Yeah,
that's among the worst in the Southeast. I think it's 14th or something.
Yeah, and their pressure. There's another special analytic that their pressure percentage is real low, and that I think that's what affected Garrett Nussmeier more than anything else in the Texas A&M game, and the fact that he was playing in front of 108,000 people and they were rowdy and obnoxious. He's going to be at home in a friendly crowd with no pressure, relatively speaking, on him. Now, you have to what about the absence of Dellinger? at
Well,
at guard.
Yeah. Well, 2 of Nussmeier's 3 interceptions against A&M, he was not under a lot of pressure. Now, I think Elko and the defense, they changed some of their fronts and their coverages. They kind of confused Nussmeier, which is what Jim Nagy also said with the Senior Bowl. He was a little off for that reason. But, so in addition to his general kind of slinging ability, he may be under more pressure this week because without Dellinger and a true freshman or a freshman starting in place of Dellinger at left guard.
Aside from Nussmeier and Milroe, who's your biggest player of the game that you're expecting that needs? Mine, I'll go first. I'm expecting that in order for LSU to really drive this game home, even though we've talked about the running game, I think you have to have another big game from Aaron Anderson.
I think Caden Durham is going to have a big game for LSU.
I'll go on the defense, and I'll put Savion Jones and Braden Swinson, right? Those 2 guys getting pressure on Milroe and preventing him from getting out of the pocket.
Yeah, that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge.
It's time to start betting on yourself. Louisiana 988 can help if you're dealing with tough emotions caused by gambling habits. You can share as much or as little as you want, and it's completely confidential. It's free, available 24/7, and most people who reach out report feeling better right in the moment. Call or text 988 anytime.
All right, let's make some predictions and go see if we can find the new Tiger.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I'm going to say LSU wins this game 31-21.
I'm sticking with my earlier week prediction. I'm going to still say 23-19.
LSU. All right, I'll be different. I'll say Alabama wins 31-24. I feel like there is going to be something. To me, this is an easy game when you look at, as I was talking about earlier, to try to break down. What quarterback's going to play better? Can LSU establish a run game? Which defense is going to perform better? Can LSU avoid the special teams mistakes? I just feel that. I feel like that's, I don't know, I guess you could call it a carryover effect. That second half against Texas A&M was alarming, and I don't think I can get it out of my mind. And so I'm wondering, has this LSU defense been exposed a little bit? And I'm wondering where they're at with Garrett Nussmeier, and can he protect the football? Certainly, you would think him playing at home against a team that you should be able to run the football with should help him out. But I just feel like Alabama figures out a way to win this game 31-24.
Okay.
That does it for Tiger Rag Audibles podcast. We'll see what happens Saturday night.
And we'll find that Tiger.
Get ready to make some noise this October with the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Join us for the 11th Annual Baton Rouge Maker Fair on October 19th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., where creativity and music come together. From live performances to hands-on workshops, there's fun with a beat for everyone. Visit batonrouge.makerfair.com for details. Brought to you by your East Baton Rouge Parish Library, where creativity never stops.